Hi there, my name's Alistair Kennedy and I'm the Sociable Social Worker, and I give practical advice to social workers and those wanting to foster and adopt. In this video we're going to be looking at 10 tips for social work students on their placements. So if you're a social work student on your placement or about to start your placement, stay tuned. So tip number 1, don't just rely on your practice teacher. Seek out other practice teachers with a varied experiences, because that might just help you meet your objectives in your placement. And remember, always ask your original practice teacher for permission to do that, because sometimes they can be a bit precious about it. Top tip number 2, volunteer to do a project. It'll help you meet your objectives quicker. You'll meet lots of people with different skills. So for example, when I was on placement, I worked with a probation officer who taught me a lot about sexual offences in children. And that came in handy when I was working in child protection, because I ended up working with a little boy, aged 10, who had raped a girl. Top tip number 3, prepare your diary. Fill it in ahead of time. It shows that you're being proactive, and it also helps you with those downtimes when you might be a bit bored. But actually, crucially, what it does is it prepares you for a full-time job. How long will visits take? What's the travel like? And those things are invaluable when you start your first new job. Top tip number 4, prepare for your supervision with your practice supervisor or practice teacher or whatever you call them. It's invaluable time. They'll be really busy. Make sure you've got all the pertinent questions you want to ask. Make sure you go through your objectives and see if you're meeting your objectives for the placement. It's a crucial time for you. Make sure you prepare for it. Top tip number 5, be part of the team. Don't slope off when they're having team lunches or disappear when somebody's birthday appears or whatever. You're part of that team and they want to give you their expertise and help you along in your placement. So make sure you attend staff lunches, all that jazz. It'll be useful for you. Top tip number 6, don't pretend you know it all. If you were previously a social work assistant or you've worked in social care, don't say things like, well, in my last job I did, or in my last placement I did. No one's interested. Be in the present. You need to have, you might have experience, but you haven't a clue at the start of a placement where everything is, and don't think that you can get away with Googling everything. So ask questions, sensible questions, but don't pretend you know it all. Top tip number 7, ask for feedback. It's really important that you ask your practice manager, your team manager, your case manager and your practice teacher, all for feedback. And don't be like an eager puppy dog. Can I get feedback? Can I get feedback? Please feed my ego. I don't mean that. What I'm saying is you can learn from them, they can learn from you, and crucially you need to know if you're going to meet those objectives. And you need to take advice on board and learn from it. Now, you might not use it all, but it's worthwhile always asking for advice. Top tip number 8, read everything that you can get your hands on, and I mean everything that you can get your hands on. If you can get books, articles, anything that's relevant, anything about social work that people can give you, and crucially, look at other people's case notes, case files online. Those are going to make sure that you know what's a good case note and what's a bad, and you can learn huge amounts from other people's writing. And if you can, share that with your practice teacher. Top tip number 9, make sure you take at least half a day a week to plan ahead. And I talk about this in another video which I did on time management, so I'll leave the link below. But make sure you give yourself some time to read, to plan, to set priorities and see what objectives you've achieved that week. And last tip, number 10. Now this might not apply right now because it's September 2020 and COVID's in full swing and we're all working at home. But if you're a student on placement, never ask to work at home. And you're saying, do people ask that? Yes, people ask to work at home when they're a student. You're a student, you need to learn from others. And I know that's strange at the moment, me saying that, because we're all doing it over video calls, but being around others is how you learn. It's you listen, you watch, you model yourself on other people. And what we don't need is a student sitting at home watching Homes Under the Hammer. Okay, I hope that helped in your next placement or the placement that you're currently in. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, please. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe. And if you want notifications and other videos, because I'm going to be doing more about students and their placements and their work, then ring the little bell. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Thanks for your time.